And there it is. Isom issue number 3. My collection is complete. The ill-advised arc has come to an end. And I'm here to give my review on it. All 3 issues were written by Eric July, and the art has been done by Cliff Richards. The colors were initially done by Gabe Eltaib, but have been done by Sebastian Chang for the 3rd issue. Gabe went on to do other things, and I believe he's active at Big Man Comics right now. First off, this is a really big book compared to the first 2, especially. It might be twice the size, maybe not quite twice, but a lot of pages, a lot of content, and a lot to wrap up here as well. Isom is heading out of the cave where he fought off maybe hundreds of demonic forces. He saved Sam and was assisted by Bloodruff. He made sure Sam and Bloodruff were out of the cave before leaving himself. But as he's leaving, he has to deal with the last of the creatures, and he notices his power starting to wane, and he starts to struggle with defeating just one of them. Luckily, he makes it out and is brought to Bloodruff Manor, where from there on, the story switches focus back to storyline A, the Fontano storyline, who is now targeting Isom's loved ones, and Isom now has to deal with Fontano while suffering from strength loss. That's all I'm gonna give you. I don't want to spoil any more than that. It's the first few pages of the book, and there's enough left. Now I want to go to my overall thoughts, and I have to address the previous issues. I'll look back at the previous issues because this is the end of the arc. I think overall the arc got better every issue. My opinion about the first issue was that it was kind of okayish. There was a lot of room dedicated to introduce characters and world building. We met Jaira, we met Alpha Core, we met, we have wrestling scenes, Norfrika, and I think those were necessary if you try to build a universe or the Rippaverse. But I think more time could have been spent on character development, either for Isom or Fontano. Which leads me to my second point is Fontano. There was a lot of tell, don't show. You don't really see him being a crime lord. You know he's a crime lord because he's surrounded by bodyguards, and he has a gun and he has an attitude, but you don't really see him do shady stuff just yet. The fights in Isom 1 were okay. They weren't really spectacular. And Isom as a character hasn't really landed for me when reading issue 1. And this was like 2 years ago as well. This was the first issue of a big new universe that was gonna be created. And I was hesitant and I thought it was okay, but I decided to stick with it. And I'm glad I did, because then there was issue 2. And issue 2 was better. It had an interesting storyline. I'll call it storyline B for the sake of this review. B being the demonic storyline, and storyline A being the Fontano storyline. The B storyline was really interesting, and there was a lot of time dedicated to that storyline. There's still a couple of introductions and world building. We meet Gooding, for example, but it took up less space than within the first issue. Um, Storyline A was shoved aside a bit, which was disappointing. But I was excited for storyline B by then. Um, and the fights were better as well. Um, so on the ink, and as well as the writing improved as well. Um, the fights were really the best part of issue number two, and the demons we met, which leads me to issue number three. I believe issue number three is superior to the previous two in multiple facets. The fight scenes are an incredible improvement from the first issue till the third. I actually really enjoyed them, and I could follow along quite easily with the choreography. The story picks up really fast and is wrapped up in most parts, and it sets up a lot for future Isom issues. So it's an incremental improvement overall, um, throughout the ill-advised arc. Um, we switch back to the Fonteno story mostly, and I notice him being explored more. His character development. We get to know more about him as a businessman or his personality. Um, there's still a few introductions and cameos, but it doesn't really feel like they're trying to sell you another comic book. So they introduced Max Salient and Leprido. Leprido is a great character that could have easily been a Lizard ripoff, but I think he's very uh, unique. Um, Max Salient has been teased a bit. We don't really know a lot about him. We get some snippets here and there, but he looks cool overall, and he doesn't. And they don't really take the shine away from Isom. Um, we get some old faces and some new faces. There's great fight scenes, like I said, some good choreography. Um, Finally, the most exciting part for me was finally seeing who Isom really is. I think he has the potential to be my favorite character, um, but that kind of depends on where the story goes. And but I definitely believe him. He could be a flagship character for the Rippaverse. Knowing his origin now, to a certain degree, it's a very cool concept, and the way his powers work, and why they won't from occasions. Um, and we get some surprise twists here and there. Some I'm not gonna spoil anything about that. But the best part of this book, it's like I said already, is Isom himself and the character growth he goes through, from issue one until three. By the end of this arc, I was finally able to relate to him and his character. His powers are cool, and he pops off the pages during fight scenes. Uh, it, it it kind of feels like an origin story for Isom 2.0. So I'm very excited for issue 4, because it feels like it's starting with issue 4. And I like that. As for the art, first off, I want to say Sebastian Chang does a great job with the colors. If someone would have told me that all 3 issues were colored by Gabe, I would have believed them. It fits in perfectly, and it's great. It's good job. Second, Cliff Richards. What I noticed about him is very different from other Rippaverse artists, like Jack Herbert and Joe Bennett, who seem similar to me with my rookie eyes for for art. And Cliff stands out. I think he's less detail oriented, and he does a lot of facial expressions well. But what I truly see him shine is when he draws creatures that aren't human. So Lepredo and the demons in this book, they look really cool. There were also some splash pages in here of Lepredo and other things, and I'm happy to see that he got to work with so much pages, and he could be sent loose. Um, a little side note still I have about facial expressions. Like he had to do so much of them in, to be honest, all of the Isom issues. It's very dialogue heavy and therefore a lot of faces. And I think he's really good with them, but some of them were a bit hit or miss for me. I'll try to pull up some examples. I think it's one or two. But so it's a minor side note I have. Overall, I thought it was great and different, which I liked. As for the writing in, well, overall, the ill-advised arc from issue 1 until 3, I think Eric is getting better at reading through the first till last third issue. He's really good at planting seeds and teasing you with characters or storylines. I think the outline he had for this story was good. The execution could have been better. I think Isom's journey was well executed. His personal journey, like I said, he might be my favorite character, but let's see where issue 4 goes, because he set up a bunch of things. At the end of the ill-advised arc, I really love his character. I think he turned it around for me. That being said, I do think there's room for improvement. Of course, there is. I think Isom was the first thing he ever wrote. I might be wrong, but I'm kind of disappointed that they kind of let the storyline be simmer out or lead nowhere. It's basically a setup for future issues, which is not bad initially, but I think they could have used the room or used less pages for it. Even though I enjoyed issue 2, they could have used the pages for character development of Darren. I would have liked to see him do criminal stuff, not just interact when Isom needed to interact with him, but also maybe make him do a deal gone bad, or how he would react. Show him being, well, basically evil-ish. I also, in the first few issues, there was a lot of room that was reserved for world building, character and it sacrificed character development for Isom and Darren. I kind of get that, because he's trying to get a universe off of the ground. So Isom 1 needed to come with Yaira and needed to come with Alpha Core, and there was a Norfolka. Luckily, issue 3 has a bunch of pages and less introductions. So we get a lot of time dedicated to Isom and Darren, which I'm really happy to have seen. I would have loved to see more from Jasmine. That was it. But maybe the point was that the focus was never supposed to be her, but Isom's. I get that. But she could have get a little bit more attention. Then I would like to point out that I think there's a lot of room for improvement for dialogue between characters. There's fairly dialogue heavy comics. There's a lot of text bubbles, as you can see. And sometimes the interactions between two people doesn't seem very natural. I barely notice. Keep in mind, I have no idea what I'm talking about. It just, as the reader, sometimes it felt like it doesn't feel like two people talking. It sounds like they're both doing a mini monologue. So it's never like someone asking him Isom something, and then he just says yes or no, or I'll get right on it. It's always like two, three, four sentences in the answer. I got an example from. I'll try to pull it up. If I can find it, it's the construction worker talking to Isom, who arrives at the parking lot. The construction worker seems to have to justify himself for why he would. It feels like he's justifying to the reader why he would believe Isom could be there, which he doesn't really need to do. I think Eric could leave room for interpretation. The reader is probably smarter. You don't have to spell everything out. We know it's not weird seeing people here that you don't recognize. There's a lot of people. There's a big meeting. You don't have to spell it out to the audience. There was one more thing that I really noticed, and it's not really a complaint, but maybe a challenge for Eric. I noticed that a lot of his characters are either self-made or business-oriented people. And I noticed it only in the third issue, and I'll explain why. But if I think back about characters, well, Isom, of course, self-made man, important. It wouldn't be weird that his family is as well. That's how he's raised. Darren is a businessman. Well, we see Lincoln Usibo. Jasmine kind of feels like a woman with money on her mind, maybe. And what surprised me is what a line that Santwan said, and it was really simple, but if for some reason I thought that's weird. He said, "It's just business," which I didn't expect from him for some reason, because he seems like a glorified grunt, to be blunt. So he's a big man, he's strong, he has powers, and it's weird to see him talk about business. It's still believable, I get it, but I would challenge Eric to write characters that don't have either those traits, self-made or business-oriented. Maybe someone who's aloof or doesn't have any worries. I don't know. Just spitting out ideas here. Overall, don't get it twisted. I really enjoyed this. I'm very excited for issue number 4. It might be a while, but we got a lot of good stuff on the way. Yes.